I think of all the people I've seen in Iraq, Ukraine, northern Nigeria, where the Christians are under such terrible and almost ignored persecution, and for many other places. But I've never seen as much of the best and the worst of humankind as I have in the past 6 months in Israel and Gaza. I was here in New York on the 7th of October, and on the 8th of October I went down to Times Square, and there were these men and women waving signs celebrating the massacre of the previous day. They weren't calling for a two-state solution. They weren't saying we'd awfully like to do some borderline territory swaps in the West Bank. No, it was all celebrating the massacre. And some of them were doing it, and they were holding these signs in Times Square, by any means necessary, at a time when we already knew what those means included, and in fact when the massacre was still going on. And I thought then, and I said this in the Post, I thought then that a couple of things were obvious. The first is I had to get to Israel as soon as I could. The second was that we were going to see a kind of Holocaust denialism in real time, and therefore I thought I should see with my own eyes everything that had happened, everything I could see. And the third was that I noticed already what I said a couple of days after the 7th. I said, there are some times in your life when a flare goes up and everybody can be seen precisely where they're standing. And that seemed to me to be exactly what happened. I went straight to the sites of the massacres, to the hospitals where the wounded were recovering. I won't give you all of the, or even any of the terrible stories you can hear from there. I joined the experts in the I joined the pathologists in the morgues of Tel Aviv as they were trying to identify the dead. An unbelievable task, which they do with extraordinary delicacy and religiosity, actually. I spent a lot of time with the families of the kidnapped and with the survivors of the Nova Party. But I also had the great opportunity to witness firsthand Israel's response, because unlike some countries today, Israel doesn't just sit back with equanimity when it's attacked, much as some of the world would like it to do so. One of the fences that the terrorists broke into on the 7th, and I thought immediately as well after the 7th, people aren't going to realize the scale of this. This was a 4,000-person battalion-sized terrorist attack that aimed to go all the way up the center of the country. I felt rather proud, actually, to go back through that fence with the IDF when they were going into Gaza in search of the hostages. I saw the tunnel networks that Hamas has spent all these years building with your money and mine. I have a friend from the British Army, Colonel Richard Kemp, and one day we were standing underneath one of the tunnels that Sinwar had built, in which he's videoed going through. This is the mastermind of the 7th. And I said to Richard, who like me is a fan of dark humor, I said, this is about the size and width of the London Underground. And he said, yeah, and I hear it's even longer than the London Underground. I had the opportunity to say, and I think it's rather better run.